I lost my right hand saving Scarlett and quit racing, but she turned around and married me. Noah lived out my dream for me, yet Scarlett, with a dismissive "your brother has issues," forced him to the hospital rooftop, where he jumped to his death on the awards day. She smiled and crowned her first love. I only sent a text, "Let's get a divorce." Outside the Global, Scarlett's bodyguards blocked me, refusing entry. Right after I messaged her, I received a phone call from the hospital. The doctor's voice on the other end was heavy. "Mr. Ethan, please accept my condolences. Your brother became emotional after seeing the Global broadcast. When he woke up, he jumped from the hospital rooftop and passed away after rescue efforts failed." With a clatter, my phone fell to the ground, and I stumbled towards the taxi stand. But I hadn't gone more than a few steps when I collapsed to my knees, powerless. Just then, the screech of tires from a sports car sounded not far behind me. Julian, sitting in the passenger seat, saw me first. "Ethan." He held up a trophy, his voice smug. "Are you coming to my celebration party too?" Before I could speak, Scarlett stepped out of the car and grabbed my collar. "Ethan, have you made enough of a scene? Why are you making a scene here? So what if your brother lost his qualification? He can't even drive a race car. Why are you here trying to emotionally blackmail me? If you ruin the celebration party I am throwing for Julian, I am not through with you." She shook me until I was dizzy, and my prosthetic arm hit the car head, my severed limb throbbing with pain. Seeing me leaning against the car, saying nothing, Scarlett suppressed her anger. She turned to the bodyguards and ordered, "Quickly, take him home. Stop letting him make a fool of himself here." Then she looked at me again. "I'll arrange a good job for your brother later. Stop." I snapped back to reality, pushing myself up with one hand, my eyes bloodshot as I stared at her. "No need. Noah didn't need a job charity from her anymore. He's dead," I said, my voice choked with sobs. "The doctor just said." Scarlett froze for a moment, then angrily cut me off. "Ethan, it's truly malicious. Resorting to any means necessary for your racing dream, you'd even curse your brother to death." Her ran out, and she gritted her teeth. "It's not enough that you emotionally blackmail me with your useless hand. Now threatening suicide, aren't you? If someone has to die, why isn't it you?" With that, she ordered the bodyguards to drag me away, and drove off with Julian. I watched Scarlett's retreating back in a daze, wondering when it had started. The woman who once said she loved me no longer held any affection for me. In her eyes, only hatred. My family and the Vance family were old acquaintances, and Scarlett and I were childhood sweethearts. After my parents died in a car accident, leaving only Noah and me to rely on each other, the Vance family took great care of us, and Scarlett always supported my racing dream. When I came of age, she invited me to join the racing that the Vance family had invested in. At 18, everyone said I was the most talented racer. Given time, I was sure to win the big prize at the Global, but this dream was shattered by a car accident 3 years ago. It was raining. On an elevated highway, Scarlett was rushing to the airport, but because she was driving too fast, the car overturned. I was in the passenger seat, and used my hand to protect her head. She only suffered minor injuries, but my right hand was crushed by the vehicle, a bloody mess. In the ambulance, it was the first time I saw her, crying uncontrollably, but I could no longer raise my hand to wipe away her tears. Later, Scarlett brought countless excellent experts from home and abroad to consult on my case. I was still told my right hand needed to be amputated, and I could never race again. After that, she stayed by my side through a long period of rehabilitation. When proposed marriage to me, I asked her with a mix of inferiority and joy, "Scarlett, I don't want you to marry me out of pity." She smiled and told me it was because she loved me. I was swept away by this immense happiness, so much so that I ignored the fact that it was also the day her first love announced his engagement. However, this happiness didn't last long. Scarlett's first love, Julian, suddenly returned to the country and joined the racing. Their relationship grew closer and closer, and I became increasingly anxious, always questioning her. At first, she explained, "Julian is an excellent racer, the team needs someone like him." Later, she blamed me for being suspicious. "Go see a psychologist if he's sick. What are you imagining all day?" As explained less, she started watching me become hysterical with cold eyes. She let me go wild, and then beg for reconciliation, and her gaze towards me grew increasingly disgusted. Our first anniversary of getting our marriage certificate was when we had planned our wedding. The day I accompanied Scarlett to try on her wedding dress, Julian called her via video. Drunk, He was staging a suicide attempt and pleading desperately, "Scarlett, I want to see you one last time. I can't bear to see you wear a wedding dress and marry someone you don't love, sacrificing yourself. I can give up everything for you. I don't want anything. I just want to be by your side." And, without even changing out of her wedding dress, rushed to see him. I grabbed her skirt, holding her back, and questioning her. "Scarlett, didn't you say you had nothing to do with him? You can't just abandon me and leave." But she raised her hand and mercilessly tore off the hem of the skirt that was hindering her. The dress, which I had specially ordered for her a year in advance, was ruined. Just like me, who had always been considered a burden in her life, was about to be discarded. Scarlett turned back, her face full of malice, and shook off my hand. "Ethan, people's lives are at stake right now. Can you stop freaking out? He just wants to see me. Isn't being married to me enough for you? Don't think that just because you have a useless hand, you can dictate my affairs. If anything happens to Julian, I will never let you off the hook." That night, Scarlett out all night, staying with Julian. The next day, she moved into his house, using the excuse that it would be easier to take care of him. Disappointment gradually engulfed me, and it felt like I was back in the darkness, until came and told me he wanted to return to the track to fulfill my dream. In fact, Noah's racing talent was no less than mine. It was just that the trauma from the car accident with our parents had left him with too much psychological shadow. Seeing his loved ones lying in a pool of blood, he became afraid to drive. Plus, to lessen the burden on our family, he volunteered to work and support me. So now, he was undergoing psychological therapy, while also participating in racing training. Every time he completed a training session and successfully overcame his psychological fears, he would look at me, with eyes pleading for praise, eagerly asking, "How was it, bro? My driving skills aren't inferior to yours, right? Wait for your little brother to win you a trophy. One day, he'll stand on the international stage with our dream." But this dream also shattered when I arrived at the hospital rooftop. Noah was standing on the balcony edge, covered in blood, as if he felt no pain. He lifted his sleeve to reveal his unusually bent right hand. Noah was crying uncontrollably. "Bro, I am so useless. I can't fulfill our dream anymore. I don't care that those people hit and cursed me. I am not afraid of hardship. They clearly said they'd let me compete if I just listened. But why did they accuse me of cheating and make me lose my spot in the finals?" As he spoke, large mouthfuls of blood gushed from Noah's mouth. Fortunately, he was rescued in time, and the doctors immediately rushed him to emergency surgery. Before he entered the emergency room, I held his hand and comforted him. "Don't worry, bro will find a way for you to re-enter the international finals." So I lowered my head again, swallowed my pride, and made a phone call to Scarlett, but her phone weren't going through, and she hadn't replied to my messages. So I went to the race venue to find her. "Please help me. Can you get the team to give my brother back his spot in the finals?" Scarlett looked down at me, from above, scoffing. "Who doesn't know your brother has issues driving after the accident? How dare you ask for his spot in the finals, and playing suicide tricks?" I shook my head and explained, "No, Noah has overcome his fear of driving. He's really put a lot into racing training. If he can't participate in this race, he will really die." "Then let him die." Scarlett left without looking back, having the bodyguards block me outside the track. When the race announcer declared Julian the champion, way out in front, I finally understood why she wouldn't help me, because she wanted to help her first love achieve his dream of becoming an international racer. But that was also Noah's, and my dream. Noah, who saw the news from the hospital, once again ran to the rooftop in despair and jumped, and ignoring my pleading desperately, presented the trophy to her beloved man, congratulating him on winning the championship and fulfilling his dream. I didn't even have time to say goodbye to Noah when I rushed back to the hospital to handle the aftermath. Noah's girlfriend, Lily, also arrived. She was supported by her best friend. Crying uncontrollably, I forced back the grief in my heart and numbly handled everything until the cremation was over, and Noah became ashes lying in an urn. That evening, as Lily and I were discussing choosing a burial plot for Noah, she received a phone call from the racing team captain. He asked her, "Where's Mr. Noah? The club is waiting for him to come back and clean." Lily froze for a few seconds, then replied with a hoarse voice, "He's dead." The other end of the line went silent instantly, then a burst of laughter erupted. "Ha, he's a cheater. And now he's threatening suicide too. If he didn't want to stay on the team, He should said so earlier. Were you deliberately trying to disgust us? So mentally weak, how can he race? He should just stay home and be a good boy. Immediately after, a familiar, cold voice suddenly came through. Ms. Lily, I am the racing owner. My heart clenched sharply, and I felt a chill swept through me, from head to toe. That voice was Scarlett's. Her tone was cold, yet tinged with disdain. Today is Julian's celebration party, and I didn't want to say anything to spoil it, but your boyfriend cheated in the race, violating the contract we signed. He's been fired. I'll have my lawyer contact you shortly to demand compensation for the breach of contract. Lily was almost fainting from anger after hearing that. You. I was also trembling with rage at Scarlett's words, unable to listen anymore. I practically lunged forward and snatched the phone, but it had already been hung up. Who would have thought that Scarlett would kick someone when they are down for her lover's sake? The next day, Noah's phone indeed received a phone call from a lawyer. When and I arrived at the racing, Julian was already waiting for us, without present. He made no effort to hide his malice towards me. The brother is here. Your cheating brother didn't dare to show up, did he? Don't think staging a suicide attempt will exempt you from the breach of contract fees. You still have to pay. All these years, with that useless hand, you've taken so many advantages from the Vance family, and is still not content. Do you really think you can rely on your brother to fulfill your racing dream? His mocking gaze surveyed me up and down. He stepped forward and grabbed my prosthetic arm, as if trying to tear it off. I forcefully shook him away, the pain searing. Julian suddenly stumbled backward into a nearby shelf, his hand hitting the metal frame. The next second, with a smack, a heavy slap landed on my face. Ethan, have you made enough of a scene? It was Scarlett, who had appeared behind me at some point. She rushed to check Julian's hand, finding it red and bruised. Enraged, she grabbed a helmet from the shelf, and violently threw it at me. Scarlett's eyes were dark as she said, "Do you know how important Julian's hand is? How dare you injure him? If anything happens to his hand, he'll make you pay." The club doctor quickly arrived, having heard the commotion, to examine Julian's injuries. I was knocked down by the helmet, clutching my stomach and curling up on the ground, barely able to breathe from the pain. Scarlett frowned, looking at me crumpled on the ground. A flicker of worry crossed her face, then she quickly regained her composure and questioned, "Why are you at the racing? Are you deliberately here to cause trouble for Julian?" My eyes were fixed on her with intense fury, and I spoke each word distinctly. "Scarlett, don't you know? The one who was accused of cheating and had his final spot taken, that was my brother." Scarlett's expression immediately stiffened, her eyes quickly filled with a hint of panic, then doubt. Julian, whose hand was now bandaged, stepped forward and took Scarlett's hand, his voice aggrieved. "I am so sorry, Ethan. I really didn't know this final spot was for your brother. If I had known Noah cheated, I would never have let him lose his qualification." He sighed again, speaking hesitantly. "Oh, it's my fault too. If only I had lent Noah money, maybe he wouldn't have had to cheat." With a few words, Julian completely cleared himself, turning the blame back to Noah. As expected, Scarlett's eyes showed even more disgust towards me. After hearing him, she squeezed Julian's hand, comforting him. "It's all right. How can you blame yourself?" Then, looking back at me, her eyes were full of ridicule. "Ethan, no wonder you and your brother were so desperate for this final spot with his racing skills." I tried to explain. "No, my brother really didn't." But she impatiently cut me off. "Is everything just about money, then? It's truly difficult for you, too, to go through all this trouble, putting on such a desperate show." After the incident with Scarlett trying on the wedding dress, she had cancelled my credit card, and this global prize money was $3 million. Scarlett had clearly believed Julian's words, thinking we were deceiving her for money. Her gaze lingered on my prosthetic arm, a sneer curling her lips. "Well, you're not the first to emotionally blackmail me with your useless hand. You don't have to pay the breach of contract fee. Tomorrow, I'll have Ms. Davis transfer $5 million to your card. Is $5 million enough for a final spot and one of your hands?" I looked at the woman before me in disbelief, unable to believe it. In her eyes, my lost right hand had become a tool for extorting more money. However, Scarlett wouldn't listen to my explanations. She had already condemned Noah and me. I looked at her with disappointment, no longer arguing with her like I used to. I no longer wanted to listen and turned to leave, but she called out to me again, "Didn't you also say you wanted a divorce? I'll give you another $5 million, when can you sign?" I pulled my lips into a sarcastic smile. So she had seen the text I sent her. She just thought it wasn't important enough to bother with me. I tried to find a hint of a joke in Scarlett's eyes, but there was none. Meanwhile, the lawyer next to her had already taken out the drafted petition for divorce and placed it in front of me. She who once swore to never leave me must have wanted to get rid of me for a long time. At that moment, my heart completely died. I signed without hesitation, "Well, get the divorce certificate next week." Leaving those words behind, Lily and I left the racing. When I returned to Noah's home, his urn sat quietly beside our parents' portrait. The photo, once of our family of 4, now only had me left, and since our wedding with Scarlett never happened, we naturally didn't take wedding photos. Night fell, and I was alone, letting loneliness and pain drown me. I spent a few days in a daze at Noah's home. Soon it was the day I had agreed with Scarlett to get the divorce certificate, but I waited at the city hall from dawn till dusk, and she still didn't show up, until her secretary called to tell me that Scarlett was away on a business trip. "Mr. Ethan, Ms. Scarlett said she'd inform you when she has time to get the certificate," so I stayed at home, sorting through Noah's belongings while waiting for her message. 2 days later, she finally appeared, but not for the divorce. That day, I received a text message, and was on my way to pick up a package someone had sent Noah. The sender's address was an international racing apparel custom shop. When first heard I was getting married, he specifically told me he had a gift for me. He had a new racing suit custom made for me, saying it would be more suitable for my prosthetic arm. These suit cost millions to customize, and Noah even borrowed money from his teammates. When I found out, I didn't want him to waste money, and besides, it would be useless on me, but comforted me. How could it be a waste? My brother is the most excellent racer. He also confidently promised me, "Don't worry, bro, I've already qualified for the finals. Once I win first place in the race, I'll get millions in prize money, so money won't be an issue." At that moment, looking at the gift Noah had carefully prepared for me, my eyes welled up. I opened the package and was about to take out the racing suit. Suddenly, the front door burst open with a bang. Scarlett stormed in, her foot kicking the package out of my hands. "Ethan, look at what you two brothers have done. You're still retaliating against Julian." She raised her hand and threw a slashed racing suit heavily at my face. I looked at the suit in my hand in confusion. I don't know what you're talking about. This. But wouldn't listen to me, accusing me with a twisted face. "Besides you, too, who else would do such a bad thing?" I tried to get her to calm down and understand what had happened, but pushed me aside and began searching the room. "Where's your brother? Tell him to get out here and kneel and apologize to Julian. Not only did you ruin his racing suit, but you also hid needles in the sleeve. Truly malicious. If his hand suffers any damage, I'll pay for this." "I am fine, Scarlett. Don't blame Ethan. He certainly didn't do it on purpose. It's my fault too. I didn't notice the needle." Julian, standing by, pretended to be understanding and helped to explain, and the enraged Scarlett stopped, standing right in front of the kicked-away racing suit. Julian saw the style of the suit she picked up and gasped, "Isn't this the same model as my racing suit?" Hearing this, Scarlett turned and roared at me, "Ethan, how dare you say it has nothing to do with you?" I took 3 quick steps forward, snatched the racing suit, and clutched it to my chest. "This is a gift from my brother to me. I swear I didn't ruin Julian's racing suit." But as soon as I finished speaking, several bodyguards from outside received instructions and came in, tackling and restraining me. Scarlett's high heel ground into my palm, and the pain forced me to let go. Her eyes filled with disgust. "Ethan, do you know? You don't deserve to wear it." The next second, Scarlett picked up the scissors and slashed the racing suit again and again. My forehead throbbed with veins, and the rage in my chest almost burst forth. Suddenly, with an unknown surge of strength, I broke free from the bodyguards, but my prosthetic arm fell off in the struggle, tearing open a gash that bled profusely. I stumbled and lunged, picking up the ruined racing suit from the floor. "That's the racing suit my brother customized for me." "Scarlett, how dare you?" Seeing my desperate and broken expression, Scarlett's brows relaxed, as if she had vented her anger. She sneered, "Now you know what it feels like to be sad. When you ruined Julian's racing suit, why didn't you think of the consequences? Once I call your brother over, and you two admit your wrongdoings and apologize, this matter will be settled." Saying that, she dialed Ms. Davis, Contact Noah. Tell him to come home immediately. Ms. Davis hesitated. Mr. Noah. He can't come back. Scarlett's patience ran out. Why can't he? Tell him if he doesn't come back, he'll never be able to race again. A moment later, Ms. Davis cautiously said, but Scarlett, Noah is already dead. On the day of the global, he jumped from the hospital. He's dead. Scarlett trembled all over, and she immediately snapped, are you using death as an excuse again? But when her eyes met my gaze, which wished to gouge her out, a rare hint of guilt flashed within them. She instinctively looked away. How much money did they give you to conspire to deceive me? Scarlett still believed we were putting on an act, and even threatened to fire Ms. Davis. Ms. Davis' job was on the line, and her voice became anxious. Mr. Ethan, it's absolutely true. I sent you the report of what happened that day. After hanging up, Scarlett was about to click on Ms. Davis' chat. I slapped her phone away, and angrily threw Noah's death certificate in her face. Unable to contain the rage in my heart any longer, I roared, stop searching. See for yourself. That day, for Julian's sake, you let him take my brother's final spot. When I was pleading desperately outside the track, you told my brother to die. The suppressed pain and emotions of these past days all exploded at this moment. He saw the news of Julian's victory, and disheartened, jumped from the hospital rooftop. Afterward, you still wanted to sue him for cheating and breach of contract, and you insulted us, saying we were tricking you for money. Scarlett picked up the death certificate with trembling hands, and a panicked expression finally appeared on her face. How is he really dead? How could he die over this? Wasn't he the one who cared about you the most? I was so angry I punched the wall behind her, my face grim and terrifying as I looked at her. Scarlett, how can you still say such things? Now was in full panic. She awkwardly picked up my fallen prosthetic arm. Ethan, does your hand hurt? Should I call a doctor to check your wound? Then, she turned and took out her anger on the bodyguards, slapping each one. How dare you treat him like this? He's Scarlett's husband. Unfortunately, I no longer needed this false pretense of caring. I took the prosthetic arm from her hand, then slapped her back, stopping her disgusting behavior. Scarlett, stop putting on an act. I took a deep breath, looking at her coldly. Sign the petition for divorce right now, then get out. I never want to see you again in my life. Scarlett covered her swollen face, unable to believe I had actually hit her. After a long moment, she recovered from her shock. Ethan, I didn't know. Noah just couldn't cope. You can't blame me just because he's dead. Saying this, she tried to reach for me, but I repeatedly backed away, dodging her. Don't touch me. Scarlett's outstretched hand froze, and she tried to save face. Ethan, I really didn't handle this well. You're angry now, and what you're saying is just out of anger. Can we talk about the divorce when you've calmed down? Meanwhile, Julian, who had been watching the entire scene, instantly changed his expression upon hearing this. He blurted out, Scarlett, what do you mean by that? Scarlett looked at him with a hint of scrutiny and a fleeting expression of displeasure. Seeing this, Julian forced a bitter smile, but then explained to me, Ethan, this is all my fault. Please don't divorce her because of this. Don't blame Scarlett. She just wanted to help me achieve my racing dream. After hearing him, the easily swayed Scarlett's eyes immediately softened with pain. I was utterly fed up with Julian's nauseatingly fake demeanor, and couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my prosthetic arm and swung it hard at him. 1, 2 strikes, accurately hitting Julian's right arm. He screamed in pain as he ran, dodging my blows. My red expression startled everyone. When reacted and had the bodyguard stop me, Julian was already on the ground, groaning in pain. When he realized his arm couldn't move, he shrieked, my hand. Scarlett rushed over, concerned. Julian, are you okay? I raised a cruel smile and scoffed, serves you right. Julian looked at Scarlett emotionally. Scarlett, I think my hand is broken. Just as I expected Scarlett to defend him, she surprisingly remained silent. She only told the bodyguards to help Julian up, and take him to the hospital, but kept holding her hand, moaning, begging her to go with him. Scarlett turned and looked at me apologetically, her face full of difficulty. I didn't give her a pleasant look, and raised my prosthetic arm again. If you don't want to lose a hand like your little lover, get out of my house right now. Ultimately, she followed Julian and rushed to the hospital. The next day, I mailed the lawsuit papers for divorce to Scarlett's company. Unexpectedly, that same evening, as I was returning home from the law firm, I saw her at my doorstep. Scarlett was crouched on the ground, holding a dress in her arms. When she saw me, she reached out and desperately grabbed my arm. "Ethan, please give me another chance. I never meant to divorce you." Scarlett followed me into the house. She opened the dress package. It was a wedding dress, the same style as the one I had previously customized for her. "Ethan, I didn't even get to finish trying on the wedding dress last time. Later, can you help me see if this one looks good on me for the wedding?" Scarlett, enough. I didn't understand what she was trying to do. At a time like this, she still had the nerve to talk about a wedding. "Please understand, we're getting a divorce. There won't be a wedding anymore." Almost instantly, tears welled up in Scarlett's eyes. "Ethan, believe me, I didn't sign the petition for divorce that day. I truly don't want to divorce you." She lowered her stance, apologizing to me. "All these years, I've fallen in love with you. I just felt so guilty that you lost your right hand saving me, and I didn't know how to face you, so I used the wrong approach with you, hurting your heart. I am truly sorry." At this moment, I had never found her words so disgusting. Guilt, leading to hurt. In the end, it was just an excuse to clear her name. I exposed her directly. "Scarlett, stop explaining. You don't love me at all. Don't claim to love me while hurting me. Then say you can't leave me." Just then, her phone rang. It was Julian calling. Scarlett hung up immediately and turned off her phone. I glanced at her. "And if you don't divorce me, what about Julian? He gave up everything to come back for you. Aren't you going to give him a proper title?" Scarlett shook her head repeatedly. "I have nothing to do with him. I don't love him. Julian was my first love. I was just angry that he left me without a word back then. So when he became the other man and wanted to be with me, I just wanted revenge." Hearing this, a hint of ruthlessness flashed in my eyes, and I said coldly, "You don't love him. Then can you kill him to avenge my brother?" Scarlett was stunned by my words. What? I grabbed Scarlett's hand and dragged her to the computer. I opened the video recording Lily had secretly obtained from a teammate. "Open your eyes and look at the filthy things your first love did to my brother. He let the racing members bully him, constantly hitting and cursing him. Then, after my brother qualified for the finals, he accused him of cheating and broke his hand. He's the murderer who killed my brother, and an accomplice. How can you expect me to forgive you?" Scarlett watched the video recording in horror, seeing all the scenes of Noah being beaten. After watching it, her face was pale, and she collapsed to the floor, teary-eyed. "Ethan, Julian never told me, and I didn't know Noah was training at the racing. I had no idea those people would hurt Noah like that. I thought he really." Whether she didn't know or just chose to ignore it, I didn't want to question her anymore. After a long while, Scarlett seemed to make a decision, and she promised me, "I will definitely give you and Noah an explanation." I didn't want to hear her false promises anymore, and threw her out, along with the wedding dress. I didn't hold out much hope that Scarlett would actually do anything to Julian. After all, he was her first love. Recalling the shocking wound on Noah's right hand, my heart was pierced with pain. Julian hadn't just wanted to take his spot in the finals. He wanted to ruin Noah's racing career. I was determined to make him pay the price he deserved. The next day, news came from the racing that Julian and the teammates who framed Noah had been fired. Then I received Scarlett's text message. She said she had completely cut ties with Julian and that he had received his just punishment. Scarlett was indeed soft-hearted towards Julian. In her eyes, my brother losing his life, and Julian losing his love and leaving the racing, was punishment enough. How ridiculous. After reading it, I expressionlessly blocked her number, and went to arrange Noah's burial. But unexpectedly, as the funeral was about to begin, Julian suddenly appeared. He was no longer as flashy as before, looking quite disheveled. Seeing me, Julian rushed over to attack, but my people immediately restrained him. He cursed at me, "You cripple. It's clearly your brother who was useless. Why did you get me fired from the racing?" And forced Scarlett to break up with me. "Scarlett doesn't love you at all. Why won't you divorce her?" Julian's curses died down after a few punches. I calmly observed his defiant expression and sneered, "Please get it straight. I am the one who always wanted the divorce. She's the one who didn't. Besides, even if we divorce, Julian, do you really think you'd get the upper hand? A disreputable, dishonest person like you Do you think the Vance family would agree to you being their son-in-law? I held up the documents I had investigated, looking down at him. What do you think Scarlett's reaction would be if she found out about you embezzling funds? Julian fell into a deathly silence. He was afraid, because what I said was true, and he knew I could do it. Just the embezzling funds alone would be enough for him to get into a lot of trouble, and saw that I was threatening him to make him beg me. After a long silence, he spoke in a trembling voice. Ethan, I was wrong. What do you want me to do? To let me go? I curled my lips and smiled, kneel down and kowtow to my brother's grave to apologize. Julian surrendered. He was kicked down, kneeling before Noah's tombstone. He kowtowed and confessed his malicious actions. We stood nearby, listening, wishing we could kill him. After he had bled from the head, Julian stared intently at me, and asked, "Are we done?" I turned off the video recording in my hand. "One more thing, then you can go." Julian looked up, his face streaked with blood, and suppressed his anger. "What else?" As he spoke, I dropped an iron bar in front of him. "This is what you owe Noah." Julian wanted to resist, but his head was bleeding, and he was surrounded by several people. Pleading on his knees was useless. The way he had treated Noah in the past, the same retribution would now fall upon him. When saw me pull out my phone, about to make a phone call to Scarlett, he eventually gritted his teeth and broke his own hand, the pain nearly making him pass out. I threw the envelope at him. "Get lost. If I ever see you again, I'll beat you every time." Julian could only clutch the documents to his chest and stumble away, trembling. Lily stepped forward unwillingly and asked me, "Ethan, just letting him go. He's the one who killed Noah." Of course, I wouldn't let him off that easily. Breaking one of his hands was my part, the rest I'd leave to the police. Julian hadn't taken more than a few steps before the police appeared and stopped him. At that moment, he was still feeling fortunate that Scarlett didn't know about this, thinking about how he would win her back. The next second, he was arrested for assault and embezzling funds, his eyes bulging with rage. He roared at me, "Ethan, you dishonest person." I shrugged. I promised not to tell Scarlett, but I never promised not to tell the Vance family. After's funeral concluded smoothly. I unblocked Scarlett. I sent her the video recording I had and the news of Julian's arrest. Scarlett didn't reply to me. She was probably busy dealing with the board of directors' scrutiny. That day, when I returned from the police station, I received another phone call from Scarlett. She asked to meet me at the racing. When she saw me, she didn't ask about what I'd done to Julian. Instead, she pulled out a document, a stock transfer agreement for the racing. "Ethan, I am so sorry about Noah. I promise I won't let Julian get away with this. I invested in this racing, and I want to transfer it to you as compensation. The racing dream you and Noah didn't get to complete. Maybe we can finish it together." Scarlett's eyes were full of guilt, and her voice was so earnest that I almost believed she truly loved me. I lowered my gaze to the document, a gesture of goodwill, and replied with a faint smile, "I'll think about it." Her face filled with expectation. She looked at me and said, "Then we." But I pulled out the divorce agreement and handed it to her, cutting off her words. "Scarlett, sign it." I looked at the racetrack outside the window, at the speeding race cars, and slowly began to speak. "The truth is, I knew that you rushed to the airport to win Julian back, but I don't regret saving you during the car accident, because back then, I truly loved you." I averted my gaze, then calmly looked back at her. "But now, I truly don't love you anymore. I don't want to be tied down by the past anymore. Let's part amicably." During the long silence, Scarlett's face paled, and then her eyes reddened. After a long moment, she covered her face and spoke, her voice trembling. "I am sorry, Ethan." I picked up the signed divorce agreement and left without looking back. On the third day after Julian's arrest, the organizers of the international competition also issued a notice, due to his involvement in substituting another's qualification for the finals. His winning rank and prize money were revoked. It was also revealed that Julian had only returned to the country because of multiple racing violations abroad, the pretense that he had defied an arranged family marriage and abandoned everything for Scarlett to return home was all a lie. The truth was, he had accumulated huge debts abroad and his fiancée's family had called off the engagement. After returning, he found that Scarlett still held a torch for him, which led to them getting back together. Then, he used Scarlett's name to embezzle funds to pay off his debts. I added fuel to the fire, releasing the video of him confessing at Noah's grave that day. It turned out that Julian, leveraging his connection to Scarlett, had frequently suppressed and bullied the team members. Many former teammates from various racing teams came forward to testify, and the racing's reputation was completely ruined. As for framing Noah for cheating and losing his final qualification, the two had been premeditated, all for the prize money. For a time, major media outlets vied to report on how the prodigy racer falls from grace. Immediately after, Julian and Scarlett's affair was also exposed. Julian became the other man condemned by everyone, and Scarlett became the heartless woman who abandoned her husband. The negative news about them online severely impacted the Vance's development. This caused the company's stock price to plummet, and it subsequently lost several major projects. Weighing the pros and cons, the Vance decided to hold a press conference. At the conference, Scarlett personally admitted her mistakes and clarified her relationship with Julian. She also publicly announced that she would no longer serve as CEO, which slowly quelled public opinion. Just as the press conference was about to end, Scarlett reportedly suffered an accident. Someone suddenly rushed out of the crowd and stabbed her 8 times. It was Julian, who had just been released on bail. He had specifically come to find Scarlett, but he had overheard her statement at the press conference. She had not only denied their relationship, but also stated she would pursue accountability from him to the very end. In a fit of rage, he attacked her and was arrested again. He also received an additional murder charge, and would spend the rest of his life in prison. Although was rescued in time, her waist injury was severe. With a risk of paralysis, she might spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. In the end, I still didn't accept the shares of the racing that Scarlett offered me. Instead, I used the money from the divorce settlement to invest in my own racing. I stepped back onto the racetrack, becoming a racing coach, carrying racing dream. I would lead my team members toward international competitions.